I can hear us. I think we're good to go. Well, welcome to everyone who has joined us. Welcome to those of you on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Thank you to everyone who has been able to make it to our live. And sorry for the delay. My computer has been having a few technical issues, but I'm Elaine. For those of you who follow our accounts, I'm a PCOS health coach, and I'm also a PCOS sister, and we help women with PCOS and prediabetes and weight loss struggles reach their goals. And below or to the side of me, depending on which platform you're on, is Coach Kyle. Coach Kyle, you want to introduce yourself?
One of the PCOS mentors. I coach a lot of the ladies that come into the program. I also take the first initial consultation calls too. Usually it's Elaine and then I take the second call, but so you'll see a lot of me if you do come into the program or actually need help and assistance. But in general, I coach mindset, I coach PCOS, I coach nutrition, I coach lifestyle. I coach a lot of different
You
things,
coach a
but
lot of
in
different
general, we focus
things.
on yeah, I'm like a friend, mentor, coach. I do it all, but essentially the main thing here that I focus on is period restoration, PCOS, prediabetes, and mental resilience is one thing that I also specialize in too, which I really do enjoy coaching. So, did I miss
Yes.
anything?
No, I think you got it all. You are our all rounder when it comes to coaching. So Coach Kyle covers a lot of different areas, and he is one of our coaches who's helped us come up with our nervous system reset that we do with clients, especially clients who struggle with high cortisol like myself. So that leads into today's topic on PCOS, belly, and stress. So talking about how your nervous system needs to have attention paid to it, especially if you are someone who is more of a cortisol baddie like me, where whenever your cortisol levels get too high, either from having too high of stress or not getting enough sleep or a combination of the two, you start to notice a flare up in your PCOS symptoms, like the PCOS belly, like irregular cycles, like missed ovulations. So today we are really here to help you to understand how cortisol impacts you as a woman with PCOS, and then how to also navigate that with Coach Kyle, who ended up creating our nervous system reset that he's been working on with his clients on. But let me find our so let's get into it. If you are on Instagram and you want to see the full presentation, pop into our YouTube, and it's the exact same username. That's going to be the best way to see the full presentation. But Coach Kyle and I already went over a little bit about ourselves. If you don't know our company is called New to Fitness, and we really do have a mission to create a safe and compassionate space for you to go through all aspects of your journey. We mainly focus on PCOS and pre-diabetes as well as weight loss, but we help women who have had past histories of cancer, women who are actively trying to conceive. We help women who also like are struggling with high blood pressure, I was going to say pre-diabetes, diabetes too, and other health conditions, high cholesterol, because those are all very common comorbidities when you have PCOS. And we also just help women to get more structure into their lives. Coach Kyle is the structure king when it comes to helping you to find a routine that fits into your lifestyle. But we have a team that is really dedicated to our mission and making sure that you feel heard and supported. Especially since as someone who's a PCOS sister myself, I experienced a lot of dismissal within the medical system, which led to me being on birth control for 16 years for realistically absolutely no freaking reason. But I'm just wrapping up cycle number 24 naturally, with the help of Coach Kyle and PCOS mentor Morgan as well. So when we say that we know what the heck we are doing, that is an understatement. Now, today we are going to dive into our Q&A portion for sure, but we also wanted to go over some cortisol facts as well as red flag symptoms for when your cortisol might be behind the PCOS symptoms you're experiencing. We'll talk about PCOS and cortisol and how that all links, and then help you to understand the PCOS, cortisol, and belly fat link, in addition to helping you to identify what in your life might be making your cortisol levels worse, which could be contributing to your symptoms, and then going over 2 action steps from Coach Kyle's nervous system reset that he helps clients use to naturally lower their cortisol levels. Anything to add there, Coach Kyle, before we dive in?
No.
Perfect. And as always, for those of you who stick around to the end, we always have a little gift for you. Now, when it comes to cortisol, most of us know it as our main stress hormone, but cortisol does actually do more than that. Most people don't realize that cortisol is also heavily involved in our sleep and wake cycle. So a lot of us know melatonin is our sleep hormone, but cortisol is also used for our sleep cycle, especially when it comes to our waking aspect of our cycle. Now, cortisol helps you to wake up in the morning. It gives us energy to handle stress, and it gives us sometimes superhuman energy to be able to handle like dangerous situations, hence our fight or flight system. And it also helps to control our blood sugar and our blood pressure. So this is why you will find that whenever people are dealing with high levels of our high blood pressure or elevated blood pressure, a common question that is asked is, how are you managing your stress? What does your sleep cycle look like? Because if your cortisol is elevated because you have a high stress lifestyle and or you're not consistently getting enough sleep, this could be leading to your blood pressure issues, and or it could also be contributing to your pre-diabetes, diabetes, or insulin resistance. Now, when it comes to our daily cortisol rhythms, it's supposed to be the highest in the morning because it's meant for wakefulness, and then it's supposed to slowly drop through the day and be lowest at night. Now, if you're a cortisol baddie like me, and at night you feel wired and tired, this could be because you are experiencing dysregulated cortisol. And at night, when you're actually supposed to be feeling sleepy and tired, because your cortisol is still elevated from either being stressed out or having an abnormal sleep pattern, you are still feeling wide awake because your cortisol levels haven't dropped down low enough to allow you to feel that sleepiness at night. Anything to add there, Coach Kyle?
No,
No?
you pretty much
Okay.
covered everything.
Perfect. Now we like to do some yapping. So, Kyle, when you are stressed, and anyone who's watching on replay, feel free to drop a 1 to 4 in the chat. But when you are stressed, what do you usually feel first? Is it more of like a tight chest and fast heart rate? Is it headache or brain fog, stomach issues or bloating, or like sugar or salty snack cravings?
Me specifically, like, what do I feel
Yeah,
first?
like what is like kind of like your stress response? How do you identify when you're stressed out?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, specifically, it's definitely, I would say number one and number three.
Okay.
Usually number three comes first,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's followed by number one. And then if it's prolonged stress or it's very, very high stress, I immediately get a headache. So I
Oh,
think, yeah, so that's what I've noticed for like when I'm very stressed out.
yeah.
Especially like coming out of the military too. Like I've been able to identify it more because I'm not so stressed out consistently. So like when I do go into that stress bracket, I know like what happens
Got
versus
you.
before.
Got you. So for you, it does sound like you have like a combination of stressors, but I mean, you're really self aware to the point where you're able to identify when you are experiencing stress above like your norm, right?
Yeah, because that's when I hit that headache point. I'm like, okay, I need to go do some breath work, or I need to like take some time to like calm down.
I need some TLC right now. Yeah, for me, most of the time when I'm stressed, it starts off more so with like fatigue than anything. I've noticed that as my response lately. And then usually like as of late, it's been going into more of like a fastened heart rate. Now, of course, my ADHD medication definitely does not help with that. But I'm noticing that my stress is now translating more easily into like symptoms of my anxiety. So the fast heart rate, thankfully I do not have the tight chest symptom, and I pray that I never have that symptom because that can be a really scary symptom because you don't know if it's stress or you're having a heart attack, which is horrendous.
Yeah.
And then like at the peak of my stress, especially when I was working like the 10 to 12, 14, 16 hour days, brain fog was a really huge thing for me. Like I have ADHD and I'm used to my brain and my focus like not being there, but like my focus was like that of a freaking goldfish. So it's important for us to be able to identify when we are noticing that we are getting more stressed out than usual, because I find that a lot of us, especially women of color who have the highest rate of PCOS, especially South Asian women, African women, Black women. We are so used to having a lot of expectations placed on us that we just kind of normalize the stress that we are experiencing. And in the Instagram chat, be Is it Beater? Beater. If I pronounced your name wrong, please correct me. Oh, it's B Harrington. I remember you, girl. I think this is why my blood sugar is elevated in the morning, because of high cortisol. Absolutely, absolutely. If you are not getting a decent enough sleep, or you are experiencing a period of really, really prolonged stress, that is going to impact your insulin resistance, and this can increase your blood sugar, especially when you take your fasted blood sugar readings first thing in the morning. And that is actually something we'll discuss later on. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, B. B. Why am I saying B? Is it Brittany? Remind me if I remembered your name. Okay, so red flags that your stress may be out, or your stress hormones may be out of balance. First signs when it comes to like potentially high levels of cortisol is that you might be noticing that you have very stubborn belly fat that's not moving. You might be feeling on edge, anxious, or more snappy than usual, so easily irritated and agitated. You might be having irregular or more painful periods. The more painful periods is actually really, really true for me. I noticed that during my times of higher stress, I'll also have increased sugar cravings, and when I have more sugar in my system, that actually does make my periods worse. Now, once again, I'm currently really, really blessed to be on my 24th natural cycle, and I don't really experience period pain. But now, like, my worst period pain is like a zero point 0.5 on the scale compared to what I used to experience. But I still do notice that maybe I might get one extra cramp, or a cramp, compared to when I usually don't get them now that my hormones are more in balance. If you have high cortisol, you might also be have trouble sleeping or staying asleep. You might feel tired but wired at night, which is something I talked about earlier. And you might notice that your face is getting more round or puffy, because elevated cortisol levels leads to us holding on to water. So the water retention can lead to us looking puffier, and cortisol can also increase our inflammation. So we might also just be more puffy in our face from experiencing more inflammation. Also, if it's increasing your desire for fast food, or like sweets and salty foods, when you're consuming a high amount of that kind of food, it can also increase your inflammation as well. So it does play into a lot of different factors that can impact the way that you look, or the amount of inflammation that you are experiencing. Anything that you want to add there, Coach Kyle, or did I hit most things?
I mean, you basically hit everything. I think it's just paying attention to when you're getting really stressed out, to like what's happening to your body, because it's really important that you understand those red flags, because if you're not very self-aware and in tune with your body, then it's going to be hard to prevent this from happening.
Yeah.
So for like myself, like I notice I get more snappier on edge, and then like I have trouble sleeping. So those are like really key signs that I'm like, okay, like we need to kind of make some adjustments, because like what I'm doing right now isn't working. So I would say that as the sooner the better that you can identify these things, because then you can fix it. Because if you go a really long time without improving your cortisol levels, this can impact so many different things, like your period, your sleep, your hormones with your PCOS. It just impacts so many different things, your relationships, your quality of life, everything.
Straight up. Big on the relationships, because when we don't have as much energy, or we're more irritable, our moods all over the place, it can definitely make it harder to be a good partner or a healthy partner. So definitely a key one. Now, signs that you might have low cortisol. And when it comes to low cortisol, this is in like colloquial terms, or like in the wellness space, known as like adrenal fatigue. But there is a medical condition that can lead to consistently low cortisol, and that would definitely be diagnosed by your doctor if your cortisol has tanked. But within the wellness space, they kind of discuss adrenal fatigue as when you have been in such a chronic state of stress that your adrenal glands just start to slowly produce less cortisol, and it can lead to you craving very salty foods. So you notice we've taken the sweet component out of it. Now it's just like a need for salt to support your adrenals. But you might also be feeling deep fatigue that just like does not get better no matter how much sleep that you get. You might also be feeling weak, dizzy, or lightheaded. You might notice some nausea, some stomach pain, or your appetite completely goes away. And sometimes people celebrate this, but this is not a good thing. When I've seen, some of my family members sick, and the stress response of some of my family members who are supporting our sick loved ones is that you'll start to notice they're losing weight at a very rapid rate, and that is their stress response, right? Where they've been in such a chronic state of high stress that their appetite just shuts off, and now they are losing muscle mass. And then when they start to get back into their normal day-to-day life, they notice that the weight piles on really, really quickly, because the loss of muscle mass during the time they were caring for our sick loved one led to their metabolism dropping, making it much easier for them to gain weight after everything had improved. So that loss of appetite, whenever you notice that, it is a red flag, because you don't want to allow your loss of appetite to lead to you losing muscle mass, which actually lowers your metabolism, and then you're going to gain the weight back much, much faster. Other signs of potentially low cortisol symptoms is darker patches on your skin. This could be due to your cortisol impacting your insulin and making you more insulin resistant. The dark patches on your skin, if it's due to insulin resistance, is known as acanthosis nigricans. I think it's about 30% of women who have insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, show this symptom, but it is a classic telltale sign that your insulin resistance is getting worse. Oftentimes we'll see the dark patches around people's necks, in their armpits, in their, like, between their thighs or under their breasts, and these are places where skin folds are. So keep an eye out for that. If you notice a part of your body starting to darken, some people will see it on their face. It's not the most common though, but if you notice a part of your body starting to darken, that is a red flag that something is off with your insulin, and it could be due to your cortisol levels impacting your insulin resistance. And then I mentioned previously, when you have no appetite, it can lead to unplanned weight loss, and that is not necessarily something to be celebrated, because the unplanned weight loss in the long run can impact your metabolism, which can make it very easy for you to gain weight once you deal with the stressor that's causing the weight loss. Anything to add there, Coach Kyle?
I was actually just talking to someone too this week about adrenal fatigue, because they got their cortisol tested, and it was very low in the morning when they got it tested. So it was like, more than likely you have adrenal fatigue, which kind of explains all of their symptoms. So I mean, high or low is definitely not good. But not having, or having cortisol is not bad. We don't want to demonize it, but having too much and not having enough, there's a balance to it, as there is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is a very important point to make, because we do see a lot of information about cortisol, and oftentimes cortisol is demonized, but cortisol serves such a vital role in our lives, from our sleep cycle to our danger response, our fight or flight response, and even in our ability to rest at night, right? So cortisol, it has its purposes, and it is a great hormone when it is at the optimal level for your body, because what might be high for you might be perfect for someone else. What might be low for you might be perfect for another person. So if you are experiencing abnormal symptoms and they are aligning with some of these cortisol imbalance symptoms, even if you haven't tested for high or low cortisol, it's still important to pay attention to your symptoms, because if your hormones are at a level that is optimal for your body, you wouldn't be experiencing certain symptoms, right? So even if your blood work is saying, hey, like, your cortisol is fine, everything else is fine, everything is normal, like my blood work did, if you're experiencing symptoms, that means that whatever the normal is for the average population is abnormal for you. Usually you're still an individual. Your body will respond differently than others, so it is important to listen to your symptoms. Anything else to add there?
No.
Perfect. Okay. Now, when it comes to PCOS and stress, let's talk about why your body might react stronger to stress or elevated cortisol levels as a woman with PCOS. Because unfortunately, with PCOS, it does predispose us to being more sensitive hormonally. So the current emerging research on PCOS is that it is linked to changes in our body's stress response system. They're also finding links to PCOS and trauma. With PCOS, because there is so much research that still needs to be done to uncover the root causes, a lot of the research is just kind of being done as we are figuring things out as well. But the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, so your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, and your adrenal cortex, I'm going back to like grade 11 biology right now. These these organs in your body are responsible for your body's central nervous response. And when you have PCOS, your HPA axis can actually be overactive, or it can be dysregulated more than the average person. So this affects how your body produces and regulates cortisol, and your body might produce more cortisol or keep it elevated for longer periods than a woman who doesn't have PCOS. So this can make stress feel significantly more intense, increasing symptoms like your anxiety and your depression as well. So this is why it is so important to make sure that we are looking at you as an individual, as opposed to just saying, hey, all of your lab work is fine, that means you're fine, when obviously you're not fine because you're experiencing certain symptoms. Anything to add there, Coach Kyle?
No, I mean, you basically hit everything on the head, but I think it's just, I think a lot of the times when new clients come in, they're so hard on themselves. So if you feel like you're too stressed out or you feel like you can't control your emotions, just know that sometimes it's really not your fault. It's your body just reacting, and it's not a controllable, but there are things that you can do to like alleviate it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll talk about some of the things that we can do to alleviate like the stress and what you are experiencing. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to PCOS, there is no cure as of right now, but there are a lot of different ways to manage it. And when it comes to management, because everyone's always wondering, like, oh, like, what's the perfect workout routine, the perfect eating routine, stress management routine, and that really just comes down to you as an individual, what you find enjoyable, because anything that's enjoyable is more likely to be sustained. And even if it's not enjoyable, something that you feel like it's tolerable and doesn't feel like a chore. So there's so many different ways to go about this journey, especially depending on your unique hormonal imbalances. So some of the tips that we give, you might be like, hey, I already tried these and it didn't work for me. Then that is completely fine, because at the end of the day, you're an individual. But that means like, hey, let's have a call and let's see what we can do to support you in getting to the goals that you want. Now, another yap time. Right now, which one sounds most like you? I feel tired all day, which would be number one. I feel wired at night, both wired and tired. Well, wait. Well, yeah, both tired and wired. And I am not sure. Which one sounds like you, Kyle?
okay, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I've been really stressed out
Yeah.
lately. And when I get stressed out, I get into the both tired and wired, meaning I'm tired throughout the day and I'm wired at night because I'm stressed and like my mind's going. It's actually just talking to Elaine about that. But
Yeah.
I think when I'm not in that, because I've been in and out of that, when I'm not there, I feel good during the day and I'm able to sleep at night. So if you feel like
Mm,
you have like kind of like borderline insomnia, it's probably because you're really stressed out and you got to find some ways to manage it. So
yeah.
currently, when I do find myself in the both tired and wired, I kind of take a step back and I give myself some extra self-care, like extra breath work. I go on walks, I decrease my screen time, and I just kind of disconnect from everybody. I've been building puzzles, which has been really nice.
Yes,
It's
your
like,
new hobby.
yeah, finding hobbies too has also been really helpful.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm in number three, unfortunately, but we're going to come out of it.
Yeah, always. And I am right there with you. I'm also number three, just because I've shared publicly, and especially in our Bible study accountability calls, where there's just been so many life shifts, and my depression has also been significantly worse than it's ever been as of late. And then of course just trying to like manage that, manage grief, manage, upcoming marriage, like so many freaking responsibilities, which under normal circumstances would not stress me out to the extent that they are. But I feel like a combination of losing my dad, not having the full time to grieve before like trying to get married and all of that stuff, and then trying to just like life, my nervous system has been taken for a whole roller coaster ride, and it's just kind of been like hitting so freaking hard, especially like the past 2 months. I feel like ever since like starting with PCOS Ventura Morgan, it's been 2 years because now I'm on my 24th cycle. Initially, like just that boost of energy from balancing my cortisol, like it was such an immediate difference. And now when my cortisol is elevated, I can tell. And now I'm just like, oh, I feel like I'm almost back to where I was like 2 years ago in terms of like the constant fatigue and that like that wired and tired feeling. And right now I'm back to like trying to knock myself out with melatonin because I know that if I continue to allow that wired pattern to happen at night, it's not making anything better for me, right? So even if I'm struggling to fall asleep, like I'll use melatonin to assist me temporarily until I can get back into my usual groove. But yeah, I am also a number 3. My body is not feeling the best. Actually, it's more so like my headspace is not feeling the best, but I know that there is going to be like, a time of coming out of it. And right now it's just part of life. But that is the beauty of knowing what goes on with your body and how to manage things. Because whenever, life is lifing and things feel chaotic and you fall off, you know how to get yourself back into your routine. Like Coach Kyle mentioned, like he's doing puzzles, he's trying to get new hobbies. For me, I know that having my melatonin can help me to get back into my sleep patterns. So when you've been through the journey and you've been doing this a while, even if you fall off, you always know how to get back on. And that is truly a blessing, because we know a lot of ladies where they fall off and then they keep spiraling down because they were never able to establish a routine that was healthy and sustainable for them to help them achieve their goals and to balance their hormones. But yeah, right now, definitely wired and tired, just like you, Kyle, as you know.
Yeah, I was also gonna say like, um, even though we're both like tired and wired, I feel that because of the tools that we have, we're able to navigate it a lot faster
Much
because of the
faster.
fact that we're able to identify those triggers and we're also able to identify when our body is off
Yeah.
and to make those shifts sooner rather than later. Because I know before, like a couple of years ago when we would go through it, it would be like it seemed like it would be never ending, but now it doesn't last as long. And that's what we really try to teach our clients too on like these things are natural and you're going to go through them. We go through them as coaches. Like we're not like robots. we
We try
we're
to
not
be.
like,
We try to be. We
yeah,
try to gaslight
we
ourselves
tried
into.
that. Yeah, we tried the be infinite and robotic, but it really does not work. Even as coaches, like
Yeah.
every coach goes through ebbs and flows of life. And I think if you can teach yourself how to bounce, be more solution focused versus problem focused, meaning that you focus on the solution versus the actual problem, you can bounce out of these kind of like ebbs and flows so much faster
Yeah.
because you know like what to do and you're very in tune with your body, which is what we try to teach here, and it's been working pretty well. So, but don't be too hard on yourself because, as you could tell, we both go through the same things that everybody else goes through.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and I think we do our best to portray like a positive mindset and a positive lifestyle. But sometimes we're going through it as well, and I feel like both Coach Kyle and I have been in the trenches for the past 2 years. There's always that constant roller coaster of up and down, and that is part of life. And for those of you who are Christian, like that is part of being refined and getting set up for whatever blessing is coming into your life. And it does suck in the moment because you just want everything to be fixed right away. But sometimes that's just not how it is, right? There's some lessons that you have to learn. There's some skills that you have to develop so that you can be set up to better steward whatever blessings are coming into your future. And I know like that's always a hard reality check, but yeah, sometimes you'll end up losing the weight and getting your periods back and everything will be perfect, and then life will smack you in the face, and then you might have to start back at step 5, but you are never really ever going back to step 1, because step 1 was not knowing what to do with your body. Step 5 is, okay, I already have the tools in my toolkit, let me start implementing some of them again once things calm down. And that's a normal, realistic journey for all of us. This is why whenever we say like lose the weight and you're able to get your periods back and keep it for life, when it comes to the for life part is that sometimes you're going to have setbacks, but because we help you get the tools you need to be able to manage your symptoms and keep the lose the weight, you'll always be able to rely on those tools again to get to where you want to be again. So when it comes to for life, it's not about us saying like, hey, we're going to help you reach these goals and it's going to be perfect. Your life is going to be perfect and you're never going to face any challenges. Like, hey, we're going to give you these tools, and these tools will always be with you to implement whenever life ends up setting you back a bit. And that's what we're going to do when it comes to giving you some tools for managing your cortisol today. Yeah. All right.
Like,
Realism, realism. I do like our Delulu era, but at the end of the day, life is life.
Yeah, you can only dilute so long.
Bruh,
There's
straight
a
up.
there's an explanation on that.
When was our Delulu bestie era? Wasn't that just like end of last year?
I was like 2023 to like mid 2024.
Yeah,
And then this year it's been just recovering from all of that.
literally. Because I was like, I missed the Delulu bestie era because it does give you that feeling of like, it doesn't matter what's going on, I can do anything, and then it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, the Delulu is not the Solulu. It's not actually working in this case. So like maybe let me readjust how I'm thinking about this.
Yeah, it always comes back to in moderation and balance
Yes.
because it's a push and pull with like work, with family, with your like health too. Like sometimes like you need to take a break from like the gym if you've been going too much,
Yeah.
or maybe you've been doing everything like full force and having like falling into the like all or nothing mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely just a push and pull, and I think we push too
We pushed too
far.
far.
So now we're pulling back a little bit this year. This year's been all about like finding our balance within like just life in general.
Yeah.
But I think it's been good. I don't regret doing that because it's really been helpful to like see like what's important versus like what's not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the bouncing off of our stress divulging our lives. So when it comes to Coach Kyle and I, and potentially you as well, when you are experiencing stress and worry, obviously this leads to increased cortisol levels. Now, if you have been in a state of stress and worry for, usually chronic stress is defined as experiencing prolonged stress for, I think it's around 3 months plus. Don't quote me on that. There is like an official kind of like definition of that. And stress and worry obviously leads to increased cortisol. Now, when you are stressed and worried and anxious consistently for weeks and weeks at a time, months and months at a time, your cortisol levels are going to stay elevated, and you're going to start noticing the impact of that, the increased sugar cravings, the belly fat, the low energy, the brain fog. You start to notice it gradually. And for me, that was what I started to notice. I noticed my cortisol symptoms coming back. I think it was closer to after the UK. So that was like what, August, September, and then because I got sick for like 3 weeks in September, and then everything happened after that. So when you have been experiencing chronic or elevated cortisol for a long period of time, it leads to uh, contributing to insulin resistance. And when we are experiencing insulin resistance, unfortunately, insulin is a fat storage hormone, and it likes to localize our fat within our belly. I know that online there is this there's a lot of the health experts and the fitness experts saying like, oh, cortisol isn't what causes belly fat, or it's not what causes weight gain. We understand that cortisol is not a direct causal factor of weight gain. It's not as if you increase your cortisol, bam, the weight just comes out of nowhere. It's the symptoms that cortisol causes that can lead to the weight gain. So the increase in the anxiety and the depression. If you don't want to get out of bed, you're not feeling as much joy in the things that you want to do. It's harder for you to get more movement in your day. You're going to be more predisposed to gaining weight. If you're experiencing increased cravings, you're more likely to eat more sugar, you're more likely to eat more salt, you're more likely to order out food, you don't have the energy to even cook, you're more likely to gain more weight. So getting your cortisol levels down is something that needs to be prioritized, because the symptoms that it causes can lead to impacting your weight, including its impact on insulin resistance. Because although, once again, a lot of the health experts will say, well, insulin is not directly leading to the weight gain. It's not about the insulin being the causal factor of the weight gain. It's the fact that it impacts your cravings as well. And it also does actually localize your fat in your belly. So you're struggling to already get enough energy. You're already struggling with the mood aspects. You're struggling with cravings. And now whenever you end up gaining weight, it's all going to your belly. And that can be leading to the PCOS belly. So once we start experiencing insulin resistance, even if you are not in the prediabetes or diabetes range, you are going to start seeing symptoms like the PCOS belly, like hirsutism, which is your facial hair, and irregular periods. And the main reason for the hirsutism or facial hair for women with PCOS is that when we have elevated blood sugar levels, even if we are not diagnosed with insulin resistance or prediabetes, this can actually cause your ovaries to overproduce androgens, which includes your testosterone and the other testosterone derivatives. And this is what is responsible for your facial hair and other symptoms like hair loss, acne, especially along your jawline, and oily skin or oily scalp as well. So when it comes to this PCOS stress and belly fat loop, it's more about the fact that the increased cortisol can impact your insulin, and these can lead to you experiencing low mood, more anxiety, more cravings, all of these things which impact your ability to stick to a health routine or diet routine. And then that can lead to you eating more, consuming more calories, or moving less, which means that you're burning less calories through the day. And then you start to notice weight gain. But because cortisol and insulin do both localize your weight in your belly, this weight gain that you're experiencing is now more likely to go to your midsection because of the localizing effects of both of those hormones. Does that make sense, Coach Kyle? Because I know that was like a lot.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I have some stuff I wanted to add if you were done.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
we gotta hop off. There's a train and things that we gotta hop off of and we gotta stop falling for in 2026. Because I could literally do an entire study
Call
because
it out, please.
I've been on so many consultation calls. Like I'm talking about like well over 1,000 at this point. And I've talked to so many people, so many ladies with PCOS. And the things that we have to stop falling for going in 2026 are gummy. Like when we're trying to specifically lose belly fat, we have to stop eating like the gummies,
The
like those
gummies.
gummies that were like we have to stop doing just ab workouts to try to minimize belly fat. It's never gonna work. And we have to stop like falling for fast restrictive diets like fasting, keto, things like that. It's just not gonna work. I promise you it will probably work slightly and you're going to bounce back every time to square one because it's not a sustainable approach. It doesn't actually address the root issue. You're only addressing a symptom. Your belly being bigger and you losing weight, if you're not losing the belly fat, that is a symptom of a deeper rooted issue, which can lead from cortisol. So if you're not actually addressing the cortisol issue, the root issue, you're never going to get to where you want to go. And then you're going to be more stressed out. You're going to feel defeated. You're going to hate what you see in the mirror. You're not going to be confident in your journey. And then you're probably just going to lose hope or be hopeless. And that's just not a fun place to be. So don't fall for the TikTok trends and the things that people are promoting, because just because an influencer is promoting something doesn't mean that it actually works. Just because they have an insane amount of followers, trust me, I know a lot of influencers. I've worked for quite a few big influencers. And let me tell you, I know a lot of people
status kind of influencers.
I know, yeah, like celebrity status, like I know, like for sure that a lot of these people are not good people. So don't always fact check. Don't buy. I want to call them out, but we're gonna keep
legally.
But I won't. Yeah, so I don't get like legally like have like lawyers attacking me. But no, seriously, like don't fall for this stuff. It's like I talked to like even someone this week that was taking freaking gummies, and like she saw progress, but she's like, I plateau and I go back every single time. I'm like, why? Because you're only treating a symptom, you're not treating the root issue. So just always remember that. Always fact check. Always. And you can ask us too, like text Elaine, like you're like, hey, is this supplement actually good or not good? And what also could work? You could chat GPT it too, be like, hey, only reference proven articles for this supplement and let me know if it's actually good or not. And chat GPT is pretty good if you have it only reference like proven articles and studies only, not just the general like internet. So yeah, we have to hop off that train and we have to get on like real science-based specific results going into 2026 because we want you to see progress with your belly fat.
Absolutely. And it's really great that you mentioned the chat GPT use there, because I know everyone has their own opinions on AI. For me, my opinion on it at this point in life is it's gonna come whether we want it or not. So I'm going to utilize what will support and make my life easier. I am all y'all know me. I love tech, and if you don't know me, I love technology. So for me, my little tech brain is going insane. And one of the great use cases is getting ChatGPT to audit and compare what the supplement what's in your supplement, because sometimes you'll be buying a supplement, and when I do supplement audits, I'm like, okay, well, half of these ingredients aren't even consistently proven in human beings to be effective, let alone it's not even consistently proven in the animal studies that they are doing, right? So it is important that when you are purchasing these supplements and all of these things that you think are going to help you get to your results faster, that you are getting some insight and support, and also making sure that what you're buying is actually supporting your hormonal imbalances and the symptoms that you're experiencing. If you're just buying supplements
That
because someone else said that it helped them, and you don't even necessarily have the same symptom profile as them or the same hormonal imbalance profile as them, you are putting yourself in a dangerous position, because now you're just taking things and you're guessing. It's no better than gambling, right? This is why we are here. We support you. We our DMs are always open. The amount of times that I get on, I think I get well on more than 10, 15 free support calls throughout the week. At our highest, I think we were doing 20 at one point. And we
yeah.
always are here to make sure that if you are needing additional support, because I know some people don't like the AI stuff or they just don't trust it, which is understandable because AI is not anywhere near to being perfect yet. And if you don't have the knowledge that we have, it can be hard to know when it's giving you BS. So if you are needing that additional support, we are here. But I do agree with Coach Kyle that when it comes to the quick fixes, a lot of ladies, they assume, like, you'll assume that, hey, it worked for someone else, it's going to work for me. And then sometimes you'll get really disappointed in yourself and start blaming yourself when it doesn't work for you. And it's not necessarily your fault. It's usually because what you were doing wasn't sustainable, or it wasn't realistic for the lifestyle that you lead. I can think, Coach Kyle, you and I can both agree, someone who is a shift worker, who's like working nights, versus someone who only works 8-hour days, versus our 17-year-old client who had just like finished school, versus our moms who have like 4 children. They may even have the same hormonal imbalances, but their programs with you look significantly different because their lifestyles look different, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all dependent on like what your actual lifestyle is. Like I wouldn't send I wouldn't give the same program to someone who's in college versus like a mom who has like 4 kids, or someone who has like 2 jobs, or
Yeah.
someone who has a lot of time. Like I would obviously give them a little bit more than what I would someone else. It's just
Yeah.
all about what you can manage,
Yeah.
and also like what's going to be most sustainable. I've talked about this so much, is sustainability. We talk a lot about quick fixes and stuff like that on TikTok. Not we, but like in general,
Within the
this
space.
health and we treat our bodies like it's a drive-through at McDonald's. Like
True.
we are not quick fixes. It's not a fast drive-through. Like your health takes, if you've taken 10, 15, 20 years to really undo your hormones, it's more so going to take a little bit, like even like 1 to 2 years is a good exchange for like messing your hormones up for 15 years.
Yep.
But just know that it's not going to be a quick fix when it comes to cortisol
Yeah.
and stress in general, because you have to, one, undo behaviors, you have to really do the deep work, but it is possible. But
Yes.
like we have to, like, if you keep going with quick fixes and pills and things like that, you're just going to keep like prolonging what you really need to do, which is that deep foundational work and getting down to the root issue. So
Absolutely.
we're just trying to prevent you from keeping going and repeating the same pattern
Yeah.
over and over,
And
so get
and
through it.
between Coach Kyle and I, we've talked to thousands of women, and this is a common pattern that we see, right? We'll get on calls with ladies. I think my favorite is Pris, where we were talking to her on and off for 2 years, and eventually she ended up becoming a client because it was the exact same cycle of, yeah, my goal this year is trying to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lose 10 pounds in this amount of time, this amount of time, this amount of time. And then when she started working with you, there was a lot of deeper underlying work that needed to be done. Never mind like the mindset aspect, but also she moved dealing with the loneliness aspect of that, which can make you fall into habits that aren't necessarily the healthiest. And also just dealing with how she is going to be able to consistently lose the weight while also managing her stress levels and everything like that too. When we talk about deep work, especially for our women of color, the deep work is a necessity because a common pattern that I'm just going to state right out. A good 80% of the women of color that I talk to, when at the beginning of the call, they'll tell me like I'll ask them like, how's your stress and everything like that. Oh, like everything's fine, like I'm managing da 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 da. And then they'll proceed to tell me like some of the most traumatizing, most stressful ish that they're going through, and I'm sitting there like, what? What? And Kyle knows like some of like the most insane stories that we have heard from our ladies that we give consultations to, and this just shows sometimes like not necessarily an intentional lack of self-awareness, but a lot of us, we are used to living in chaos, or we're used to living in fight or flight mode more often than not, and we have become very resilient that we don't realize when our body is screaming at us that, hey, I need a little bit more TLC, like, hey, our nervous system is off, like, hey, our cortisol is high. So we're hoping that if you're watching on replay, make sure to like this video, subscribe, all of that stuff. But we're hoping that this can serve as a starting point for you to start building your awareness too, and to also know that we are here to support you. If you're searching online, you've been ChatGPTing and you're just not getting where you want to be, because ChatGPT can only do so much. Eventually you will run out of chat space and you have to start a new chat for it to try and get to know you again and to support you. We are here as real human beings to talk to you regularly, to keep you accountable, to help you to find in time, like in the moment solutions to what is going on, so that you can build a lifestyle that allows you to lose the PCOS belly, get your hormones back under control, and just feel like your most confident and energetic self again. So let's talk about habits that end up keeping your cortisol high, and I feel like we've touched on a few of them, but being in girl boss mode, we find like a lot of our high achievers, a lot of our entrepreneurs, corporate baddies, our side hustlers, this always go 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 grind mode, which I'm still I feel like I've left behind, but sometimes that hustle mode is hard to escape from. This hustle mode is one of the most common ones I see in like our type A high achievers, to leading to them experiencing a PCOS symptom flare up, because once the cortisol starts to increase, you're not sleeping as much, your insulin starts to increase. Bam, I got diagnosed with diabetes after 2 years of being completely fine. Bam, I now don't have irregular periods, even though I now have irregular periods even though I've had regular periods my entire life. So this one, for those of you who are more type A, is definitely one to keep in mind. Also, never fully resting or unplugging, and we'll find a lot of our ladies who are in girl boss mode struggle with actively, like, fully resting. Trying to be productive while you're resting is also problematic, because you're not actually resting, you're trying to maximize the productivity that you can have when you're supposed to be letting your nervous system relax. And usually that's because you don't have the coping mechanisms to be okay with letting things go, or to be okay with saying like, hey, I've done enough for today, this has to be my cutoff so that I can take care of my nervous system. And then also getting very little sleep or broken sleep. And the very little sleep can usually be kind of a feedback loop. If your cortisol is high, it's going to make it harder for you to fall asleep, and then you are going to feel sleepy throughout the day, and then you'll feel wired and tired at night, and then it's just like a never ending loop. Also, with women with PCOS, we are more predisposed to sleep apnea. Sleep apnea can be a condition that stands alone by itself, but oftentimes with women with PCOS, the sleep apnea can actually be a symptom of your PCOS and your hormonal imbalances. So whenever someone tells me that they're really struggling with sleep and they've never struggled with it before, and they're waking up in the middle of the night, but it's not to go and pee, I always say, please go and get a sleep test, because you might have developed sleep apnea. This could also be weight related, but that sleep apnea, because you're not getting a restful sleep, could be elevating your cortisol and then leading to a bunch of other symptoms. If you're skipping meals or eating very little all day, this can throw off your blood sugar, which can also throw off your cortisol. And then if you're only doing hard, intense workouts all the time, especially when you know that your body's exhausted, you're not helping yourself. Your body is saying, hey, I need rest, and you're just like, I'm gonna amp it up. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. This is not to say that HIIT is bad or anything like that, but if you know that you have been in fight or flight mode, and your nervous system needs to take a step back, sometimes you need to temporarily pause the HIIT until you can get your body out of that fight or flight mode, and then you can pick up those more intense activities once your cortisol levels have returned to a level that's normal or optimal for your body. And then if you have shift work and long or rotating shifts, this is a very common reason why people experience high cortisol levels. Kyle, would you mind reading the note on shift workers? I'm just going to grab some water.
Yeah, that was actually we're like in sync there. Yeah, so no for shift workers. What's the other word? Working evenings, nights, early mornings, rotating between day and night, 10 to 12-hour days. So basically just like when you're in that constant, just basically changing shifts or having super long shifts where there's like minimal recovery. Because if you're like an overnight worker, you're going against the body's like natural sleep cycle. And for women in general, your system's very sensitive to that. So those are things are just to be like aware of. And typically, like we find that with the shift work, it's linked to the higher cortisol levels, metabolic syndrome, and just a bigger waist size of your stomach. Because we know if it's hormonal and your stomach isn't going down, then it's linked to that hormonal imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Let me just pop us over. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So it is. Where am I? Here. There we go. So it is yap time. So, what habits do you feel like may be contributing to your cortisol levels? Now, obviously, we didn't list all of the habits that we talked about previously, but when you reflect on what has been going on for you as of late, comments 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat or in the comments if you're watching the replay. But for you, Coach Kyle, what habits do you feel like have been impacting your cortisol levels as of late?
Definitely sleep. So like I tend to get to sleep a little bit later because I can't shut down.
Yeah.
And that typically just stems from not doing breath work and not like just doom scrolling too much or just
Yeah.
doing things that I really shouldn't be doing, like just distracting myself essentially, but and not properly regulating. So I'd say like lack of sleep would be the main thing.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. And the doom scrolling, for me, it's like I don't really doom scroll. It's more so like just listening to like something like mindless on YouTube, and then I'll be like playing like a mobile game, just like distract myself. And then because like I'm still like wide awake, and the blue light from my phone is not like the biggest impact, but when you are like I just have light all around me, it definitely makes it harder to get into that place of feeling sleepy. And I also haven't been doing my breath work before bed too. I've been now trying to pick it up during the day, but I need to get back into doing that. I feel like when we were doing our stress management challenge, like our somatic reset challenge, like that was probably the time this year when I was getting like the best sleep. And I've gone from like
Yeah.
averaging a good like 6 to 7 hours of sleep consistently to now I think like I'm back at my lowest that I've been in a few years, which is like 4 hours of sleep this week, which is insane. So I'm definitely number one for the habits that are impacting my cortisol levels. And for me, I do feel like my lack of sleep and like the weird hours I'm sleeping is also impacted by like the depressive episode and the anxiety
Mm.
that I've been experiencing as of late. But thankfully, I'm working with my doctor and my psychiatrist to get some support for that, and hopefully that will calm down my mind enough so that I can start attending to the other aspects of my life. And I do want to say that, like, if you are someone who has PCOS, with women with PCOS, we are more prone to depression and anxiety, like I've talked about previously. But if you already have a trauma history, you have PTSD, you have major depression or generalized anxiety, having those conditions can make it so much harder to manage your PCOS, because like there's a lot of days where I don't want like feel like getting out of bed. And thankfully I have ADHD and I have my ADHD medication, so once I take that, that helps me to get out of bed most days. But even then, like some days it is truly like a struggle for me to get out of bed, and I just have to like get the bare minimum done. And then my mentally I'm just tapped out. So if you are at that point where you're noticing like, hey, like my mental health has like really been struggling and it's not getting better, it is okay to get additional help. So like whether it's getting on a medication or doing talk therapy or whatever, what works for you, so that you can start to get back into your usual routine. Because I haven't been feeling like myself, and I've been pretty open and honest about that. And at this point, it's just like, okay, let's get some medication on board. Because most of you know I've been in and out of therapy for over 15 years, and at this point, I don't think it's a talk therapy problem. I think it is a imbalance in my brain problem, and we are going to fix that with hopefully a medication of some sort, like just like we are trying to manage my ADHD with some medication support, and that is okay whenever needed. Yeah. Anything else to add there, Coach Kyle?
I would say just I mean for sleep in general, like I definitely notice like when my sleep quality is the best is when I'm doing breath work. So
Yeah.
if anybody's like saying like, oh, one is like the one that's like impacting, do even like a couple minutes of breath work. Like the box breathing technique, you can look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's basically four seconds breathing in through your nostrils. You hold it for 4 seconds. You exhale through your mouth for 4 seconds, and then you hold that for 4 seconds. And you basically just repeat it. And you can do it in bed. You can do it out of bed, and just do it until your body calms down and your nervous system regulates a little bit more. Because if you're calmer when you go to sleep, you're going to go into a deeper sleep and you're going to have more recovery, versus like if you're going to bed stressed, then your body's not going down into that REM sleep as deep as it could be, or it's not staying in that cycle as long as it could. Because the longer that like the healthy range for REM sleep, that really deep recovery is like 1 to 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
is like where you really want to be at. If you're getting less than that, and I mean, for Elaine and I, she's only getting 4 hours total, so she's probably not even getting any REM sleep. If
Mm-mm.
like if
And
like
my watch is
20,
a pretty good sleep tracker on that. I don't think I've hit REM sleep for like the past week, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's important because that's like one thing that we do focus on with our clients is sleep. And even with Janera, we focus on her sleep, and she lost like I think it was 5 pounds in the first couple of weeks just by even improving her sleep quality.
Let's
So
go. Yeah, for me at the beginning of my journey, just getting better sleep, which was helping with the cortisol. I ended up losing what a lot of people think is like 5 to 10 pounds, but realistically it was just like a lot of inflammation and like a lot of water weight being let go, because I the cortisol levels were just at an insane point, right? So I it's amazing that Janera has seen that much progress just from what would be considered like a small action step, but those are the foundations to your journey. I know we've talked to some women where they're like, there's courses on like living a non-tox life and all of this stuff, yet they don't have good sleep patterns. You are not drinking water consistently. You are not having enough fiber in your diet. You're not getting enough protein in your diet, and they're relying on changing the makeup brands and the cookware that they have, and adding some gummies to be able to get them to the results that they want, when realistically the foundation of you being able to balance your hormones and keep that going for a long period of time is our sleep patterns, is our nutrition habits, is our movement routines. And then yeah, like the changing your cookware to all glass, and changing your makeup and everything like that, it will help, but that's at the very very top. Like that's one of like the last things that you do once you've actually gotten a proper foundation. So it's really great to see that Janera has also experienced that, where you guys have focused on a foundational aspect of hormone balance, and she's seen such great results already.
yeah, and she's like way less. I think she was saying that this was like the least stressed that she's been, and she has like a lot more energy. She has a lot more brain like clarity. She doesn't have as much brain fog. Like in the morning, she's a lot more consistent with her habits, and just everything is improved by just doing some slight changes with her sleep. So it is super
Absolutely.
important. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
that's really
crazy how.
amazing. Yeah, and I was going to say that's insane that she's experienced such big results while moving, because like for me, moving is like one of like my most stressful periods ever, and the fact that she's seeing those results even with so much going on in her life, that just speaks to the importance of those foundational habits for managing your cortisol and your hormones, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Nervous system reset action one. Actually, I'll let Coach Cal go over this because he pretty much explained it already, which is the box breathing that he recommends for a lot of his clients who are doing the nervous system reset with him. So I just put it as like the 5-minute breathing break, but Coach Cal also frames it as the box breathing.
Yeah, so basically 5-minute breathing break, box breathing, like whatever you want to call it, but it's really just slow breathing. It helps your parasympathetic nervous system to go into that rest and digest mode. It helps your body drop into that. And when you're resting and you're able to digest, your brain and your stomach are connected. So if you're able to drop into that rest and digest mode, your body's going to feel more recovered. And specifically talking about this study that Elaine listed, in Frontiers in Psychology, found that cortisol levels dropped by 20 to 30%, just 5 to 10 minutes of slow breathing and various activities. Research published also that the breathwork practice over 4 to 8 weeks led to sustained reductions in baseline cortisol. And I mean, in general, like every time that I've implemented this like breathing technique, or there's a ton of like breath works that you can do. I usually tend to change it up with my clients, but when they do it consistently, especially like at night and in the morning, their days of starting is a lot less stressful. And then them going to bed and like feeling restful or rested is a lot better. And just the matter, like, I'm not even joking, like Janera within the first couple of days already had an improved mood and a lot more energy. So it really does impact pretty fast when you do it consistently. So like even within the first week, you could see progress in general. Because I mean, even it just said it dropped 20 to 30% in just 5 to 10 minutes of slow breathing, which is completely true because I've seen it firsthand and I've experienced it first.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. It's once again one of those habits that is overlooked, and I've talked to some women where they're just like, "Well, I did it and I didn't notice an improvement." Well, it's like sometimes what are your expectations of the improvement? Because if you're doing it and you're just like, "I'm expecting my," wait, can you not hear me? Okay, wait.
I can hear you.
Okay. But if you're doing the breath work and you're just like, I'm expecting my belly to go down like 5 inches within the first month, well, that's not realistic, and that's not what the breath work is really for initially, right? The weight loss is more of a byproduct of continuing with this habit, because when you are getting into that rest and digest system, your parasympathetic nervous system, you are going to not only decrease your cortisol, but you're going to decrease the anxiety and the depression that you feel. You're going to notice that you're more motivated, you're able to focus better, so you're able to get more things done throughout the day. Because your cortisol is lowering, it's going to improve your insulin sensitivity, and you're going to notice that you have more consistent energy through the day. So previously, the thought of doing even like a 10-minute home workout after work might have seemed impossible, but now you're noticing like, oh, like, you know what, I actually have the energy to do this after work, or to go for a walk during my lunch break. So it is important to be realistic when it comes to the improvements that you're going to be noticing, because I do recommend breath work quite often. I'd say at least like once a week whenever we do our consultation calls. And half the times, like, oh, I already tried that. It's like, okay, but how did we try it? How frequently did we try it? Because some people, they're just like, well, I'm breathing throughout the day. It's like, it's an intentional time of intentional deep breaths. It's not me breathing right now as I'm on my walking pad, right? So we also have to be mindful, like when we talk about breath work, are we actually setting aside that intentional time? Now, when it comes to breath work, you can also do it in the moment. I talked about how whenever when I was in corporate and my boss was frustrating me, I would just be breathing very deeply through my nose and exhaling, because first of all, I needed to make sure that I didn't say something that was going to get me fired, but also because I could notice my body tensing up and I can notice the stress impacting me physically, and it was a really great way to just allow my body to relax. So that is usually one of the first benefits that you'll notice from it. At least for me, I notice that the tension in my jaw, the tension in my shoulders starts to go away when I'm doing that intentional breath work, even if it's on the go or in a scenario that's actually actively making me stressed out. Anything else to add there, Coach Kyle?
I mean, specifically talking about like the instant results, like, because we did do like some breath work too, and like with our clients, like as a group.
Yeah.
And I remember someone saying, I still feel stressed out. If you're someone who is chronically stressed out, if you do the breath work and you still feel just as stressed, or you only feel like slight improvements, just know that that's completely normal.
Yep.
You have to stay consistent with it
Hmm.
in general. Like, you might not feel like super tranquil after, but even if you feel slightly better, that's still a push in the right direction.
Yep.
And like Elaine said, it's not, you don't do this stuff in the moment when things are actively stressing you out, like to make progress. You can do it to pull yourself back to a baseline,
Yeah.
but you really want to be intentional, like when you're doing it outside of like really stressful events.
Yeah.
Because I've had clients that have had that recommended by their psychiatrist or whatever to do breath work in the moment, but I'm like, okay, well, we haven't really been intentional about doing it outside of that, so like let's do it outside at a specific time, so that way you can continue to keep your body regulated and at that baseline as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not to say that doing it in the moment is not a good thing. Like we've said, we are advocating for that,
Right.
especially like if you are someone who is very reactive, or you notice like in the moment like you get really tense, it's good. It's really good to have that as a coping mechanism. However, if you're that's the only time you're using breath work, you're not going to notice as like the best improvements compared to someone who is doing that intentional 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of breath work outside of those more stressful situations, right? And I used to do breath work when I was actually like, in the bathroom, like toilet break at work and stuff like that, because I'm like, you know what, I got 5 minutes to spare. Why not just sit here, do some breath work, and everything like that. So you can find those pockets of time, especially if you're someone who's commuting to work and you're not driving. Actually, I would sometimes do breath work while I was driving too, because that was like the only time that I could find between, because I was working like 14, sometimes 16-hour days, and then come run the business, meet up with clients. So sometimes if the only time that you can find time to intentionally do the breath work is when you are on the go, or like driving to work, but you like have a quiet space. That's fine too. Just don't close your eyes, obviously, operating a motor vehicle. But when it comes to breath work, some habits that you can implement just so that you can truly be intentional and just get into more of a rest and digest state is to turn off the bright screens. Now, when it comes to the research on blue light and like emitting from our phones and stuff like that, research is moving towards the fact that the blue light that's emitted from our phones is not like necessarily enough to make a really huge impact on our sleep wake cycles. However, when it comes to our program, we always talk about individuality. For maybe the average population that they're currently studying who don't have PCOS, who are more likely to be health conscious, because whenever it comes to people who volunteer for health studies, they're usually people who already care more about their health and they're engaging in health behaviors. They may not see a huge impact from having, blue light or screens right in front of their faces, or even having the lights on if they're trying to sleep. But for a lot of us who are more hormone sensitive because we have other conditions or we are genetically predisposed, turning off the bright screens and, giving yourself 30 minutes to an hour without your screen before bed is going to be a really big help in you getting into that rest and digest mode, and also getting out of that wired mindset where your brain is just constantly running amok. Have you heard about that shift in the research there, Kyle?
About the blue light part,
Yeah,
no, I haven't heard about that. It's kind of surprising, to be honest, because
yeah, and
everybody's on that blue light break. And I also thought that it would, I mean, for me in general, like when I see bright lights or blue lights, it makes me feel a little bit more awake. But I guess, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that maybe it's not as impactful as we thought.
yeah, and I think that's really where the the statement can come from, in terms of just like it's not as impactful, like maybe it was overstated. And keep in mind, of course, with the creation of like, or with us becoming more aware of blue light, a lot of companies ended up doing their blue light glasses and all of that stuff. So there might have been funds being poured into the research to make it seem a little bit more overstated than it was. So it's good to, for us at least, to keep up on the research and the shifts and tides in that. But it's still important to remember that as an individual, if you notice that you are impacted by lights right before you go to bed and everything like that, that you continue to to turn off your screens, maybe have a book. Usually for me, I have my Bible, and I need to get back into, like, I used to keep my phone away from, like, directly by my bed. It used to be on the other side of the room. I need to get back into doing that. But that can help a lot in terms of you being able to just get into a much better rest and digest state so that your breath work is much more effective. And then, of course, you can sit or lie down comfortably. If you've been sitting all day, if you want to stand, that's completely fine. But most people, they find it more relaxing to sit or lie down. And then sometimes you'll be doing breath work, and before you know it, you passed out, which is what I miss about doing the somatic reset method that Coach Kyle and I were doing at one point. And then for those of you who struggle with just sitting and breathing like I do, because my brain with the ADHD brain is always running a million miles per hour, you can still see the exact same benefits from breath work while you are praying or talking to God, while you are writing in your journal. So you're writing and then you're still like actively breathing. You can do a body meditation or body scan audio. There's a lot on YouTube and even on Spotify as well. I don't know about Apple Music, but I'm assuming they also have meditations on there. And just make sure that you are breathing slowly and intentionally while doing it. Coach Kyle's box breathing method of the 4-4-4-4 is a really common method. For me, I always do, I think it's like, is 3 in, pause for 3, and then 3 out. That's my favorite. You just find a rhythm that works best for you. Anything else to add, Coach Kyle?
No.
Okay. All right. So nervous system reset action number 2. Coach Kyle, I don't know how many of your clients you do this with, but the progressive muscle relaxation, or also known as the body scan, this is one of my favorite nervous system reset actions to do, because it is a somatic way of resetting your system, meaning that we are actively using our muscles and our body to help in activating our parasympathetic nervous system. So essentially what you're going to do, and this does usually take about 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to want to be sitting or laying down for it, but it doesn't have to take 10 to 15 minutes. You can do it quicker, like on your lunch break, but if you want to like do it slow and guided, give yourself 10 to 15 minutes. But you're usually just going to tense and relax each muscle group, starting from your feet all the way up to your face, and you can follow a guided body scan audio to help you to do this, because sometimes you'll forget to tense like a part of your body, like your calves, because most of the time we aren't intentionally tensing our calves. But what this allows us to do is that when you are consistent in engaging in progressive body relaxation or muscle relaxation, or doing the body scan, you can usually end up seeing a 15 to 25% reduction in your cortisol levels within just a few weeks. So very similar to the breath work, with the progressive muscle relaxation, you'll see a noticeable drop in your cortisol. And with the progressive muscle relaxation, oftentimes they're going to be guiding you through guided breathing as well while you're doing it, if you are doing a guided meditation, so you get the benefits of both worlds. Anything to add there, Coach Kyle?
No, I've done this and it's definitely very helpful.
Yeah, I like progressive body muscle relaxation whenever I'm noticing a lot of tension in my body. Like right now, just as I was talking about this, I realized like my back is a bit tense, just because I haven't been moving as much as I usually do. Also, I need to just get back into doing lower back workouts and strengthening my muscles. But it does help a lot in, I find, like relieving any tension that you are experiencing locally as well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. So, Coach Kyle, because I'm pretty sure you did a nervous system reset with Miss Jade, right? So, do you want to head into what you did with her and how that contributed to her results?
Yeah, so obviously, like, her results are night and day, and she actually, I just shared in the chat that she's at her new lowest weight. So she's
Yes.
lost 22 pounds total, which is super amazing. It's a night and day difference just in 5 months of working with me. So the main thing that we really focused on was balance with her, but also like giving her like basically something that was like integrated to her schedule, because she's very, very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see on the right for that transformation is not her being 100% perfect.
Yeah.
That's actually about her being 70 to 80% perfect, and really just focusing on like the things that she has achieved. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the times we can beat ourselves up about our progress, but in reality, we're where we've wanted to be, or at least close to it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, her success has been a lot of just like helping her fight that inner thought, but also like giving her breath work to do, also like giving her the right nutrition protocols that fit within her like schedule, but also like her life in general.
Yeah.
And then just helping her like make decisions that are best for her in general. But teaching her how to be more mentally resilient, I think, has been the biggest part, because we can easily be our own worst critics. Like I just talked to another client about that. Like, I don't think there's like a single person I've talked to where they haven't been hard on themselves at one point in time in their life. And I think if you can't learn how to combat that, then you're always going to be stressed out. You're always going to feel behind. You're always going to feel like you're not doing enough. And that's where kind of like where Jade was at the left part of that. She's kind of like at the end of her ropes. And then I taught her how to be a little bit more compassionate
Mm.
and a little bit more resilient with her thought processes and everything. And as you can tell, like the right picture, she's super confident. Her hands aren't covering her stomach. Like she's nice big smile.
Yeah.
She's standing up
It's
straight. Like like she just looks so much. It's not even just like I was talking about that. It's just not even about her getting to the goal.
yeah.
It's about like the confidence she has, like that inner confidence. And that's not something that you can just give to someone. Like they have to really connect the dots in their inner self to reach that. And I think she's really done a great job in doing that. I've just
Yes.
helped guided her, but I don't
Yeah.
know if that like completely answered your question, but
Yeah, no, you guys did an amazing job. And the fact that I feel like Jade is one of your clients who is such a great testimonial to how this journey really isn't just about the nutrition and the movement, because you guys have gone through the nervous system aspect of her journey and making sure that her cortisol is down, making sure that she can manage her cravings better. You guys have gone through the mental health aspect of her journey and making sure that she has some better coping skills and everything like that, just so that she can get to a point where she was feeling so much more confident in the exact same dress. And now I just popped into our Slack channel to see that you said that she's now 26 pounds down in 5 months. And that just shows what is possible when you have not only the right guidance, but also personalized hormonal guidance. And you have coaches who are looking at you as an individual, when all of the doctors are telling you to just go on birth control, to that everything is fine, your labs are fine, so they're not going to give you any help other than giving you medication. And Jade was one of those clients where she ended up taking birth control for years and years and years and still getting dismissed. And then when she started working with you, Kyle, I think she got her cycle back. Was it like the first month within the 30 days? Can't even remember.
yeah, I was within that first like 30 days.
Yeah.
And it's been regular since. And I think in general too, um, because like I said, like she hasn't been perfect. And I think a lot of people think in order to get to that 26 pounds weight loss, to get to that confidence, it's just like you have to do everything perfectly. I think that's like the misconstrued part about all of that. And you like kind of get caught up in your own head. And that's exactly what was happening with Jade. Like she wanted to do everything perfect, but then she was struggling with consistency. Plus there was like overwhelm of information, her being stressed out, and she's shown up the best that she has been able to, and she's seen like obviously like amazing results. So it's just I just want to like let everybody know that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent.
Absolutely. Especially since holding yourself up to that impossible standard of perfection is what can even add in more stress. And we're really not trying to increase your cortisol anymore than it already is. At the end of the day, we,
Yeah.
like with our program, we always say you can be 50 to 80% consistent and still see progress. Well, if you're, obviously if you're showing up 50% consistent versus 80%, there's going to be, a slower timeline if you're at the 50%, but it's still going to be progress at the end of the day. You've just got to be willing to show up for yourself. And Jade has been willing to show up for herself from the get-go, and Kyle has been matching her energy, and y'all are doing freaking amazing together. So absolutely love that. Now it is time for our live Q&A time. Now I do heavily apologize because I know that there's a few of you who wanted to join for the live Q&A, but we ended up being almost 20 minutes delayed because of the tech issues. And I know not all of you have a lot of time with your lunch breaks. So if you've got a question but you weren't able to attend because we were delayed, just shoot me a DM, please. Especially if you're watching on replay, you can leave the DM on the comments for like YouTube and Twitch as well, and I'll actually, I don't know if Twitch you can leave comments, but YouTube, for the replay, you can definitely leave comments and our team will respond. And as your gift for attending this live or watching the replay, you can always comment or DM me on Instagram reset to get booked for a complimentary 15 to 30 minute nervous system reset call where Coach Kyle and Coach Kyle and or I, yes, will help you to uncover your unique hormonal anchors to losing the belly fat, because sometimes it's not just the belly fat, it could also be the insulin, it could potentially be the testosterone. So we will go through and hold space for you so that we can understand what is going on for you and then give you our professional insight on that call. And then you can also gain more personalized insights into what is going on for you, especially if all of your labs are coming back normal but you're experiencing symptoms and your doctors are saying like, hey, like we can't help you. And then we will also give you some personalized action steps to help you to start seeing progress. And if we believe like the best path for you to take is to just get one-on-one support, especially if you've been trying so many different things or you've been dieting for years, trying everything up and down the freaking block, as some ladies come to us with 20-year dieting histories and nothing has worked. We're like, okay, that is only something that at this point personalization through a coaching program can support with. Then we will have that conversation with you as well. But that complimentary nervous system reset call is just to be able to say thank you for attending the live or watching the replay, and to be able to support you if you've already tried some of the action steps consistently that we mentioned in this training and you weren't able to see the progress that you wanted. Anything to add there, Coach Kyle?
I would say like if you're feeling shy or feeling like scared to take the call, just take the call, because at the end of the day, we all kind of get shy in our own ways, but it's going to help you fast track your progress. And at the end of the day, we aren't here to like just offer you like a spot to work with us. Like if we feel like, hey, you can do this on your own, you just need these little small key components. Yeah. We're not going to be like, oh, you need to do our program. Like we're going to give you those action steps and just do it on your own. But if you truly need help and we see that you're in your own way or your health is just mess up to a point where you need a personalized plan, like we're gonna like recommend that, because like we got to be honest with you, because if we're not honest with you, you're just gonna get off that call and you're not gonna make progress. Yeah. And the whole point of like why we're in this field is to help you get to the end goal and live a better quality of life. And that's the only reason why we're here, is to help you get to that place where you can have a better quality of life, you can have a better health, you can have a better mindset for your family, for your friends, for just in general. Sorry, oh my God.
It's all good.
In general, but I think that's like our main goal, is to really get you from point A to point Z. But I would say just do the call, and you'll either be talking to Elaine or myself, and we're both pretty cool, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, at the end of the day, we're here to help you guys. So whatever questions that you have, just shoot us a message. We are more than happy to support you, to audit whatever supplements you are struggling with, anything like that. And Brittany, thank you so much for joining earlier. I really appreciate you and seeing you. It was really great seeing some of you show up, even though you couldn't stay for too long. And next time we will try to hopefully not have as many tech issues. I will reboot my computer before we start next time so that it's not constantly crashing. But thank you to everyone for showing up and for being here, and we will see you in our next live stream, which will end up being the evening of Monday, December 22nd. We are going to hold a live stream that is more so based around your energy levels as we head into the holidays, so that you can head into the new year feeling like your most confident and energetic self. So keep an eye out for the information on that masterclass, because it's going to be like a huge public masterclass, and we will chat with